Hello, everybody. Welcome to Psychedelics Today. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. My name is David Drapkin, and I'm your host for this episode, an interview with Itzhak Beery. We had this conversation in my house, and it was lovely, over coffee in the spare room. And he's a lovely chap, someone whose name I've seen for many, many years. He's been doing his thing since the 1990s. So he grew up in Israel, in a kibbutz. Very, simple life, talks about nature in this interview in a beautiful way. He was part of that land and the energy of the land. Went to America, earned his fortune in the world of kind of art and marketing, and then had a midlife crisis, don't we all? And then his journey was becoming a shaman. So went to South America, ultimately became initiated into multiple indigenous traditions, wrote some books, one of which we go into a bit more detail. It's called Shamanic Transformations, True Stories of the Moment of Awakening, which is really cool to hear about some other people's experiences at that moment when they were going through the healing journey, through that kind of transformational space in their life. He's also got a great website, Itzhak, called Shaman Portal, a kind of a one-stop shop for different shamans and organizations and retreats around the world, sharing knowledge. Really beautiful to see. And one of the main topics we keep speaking about in this interview is that of soul retrieval and some of the kind of shamanic techniques in his toolbox that he uses to help people going through those processes. All right, so before we jump into that, there are 3 wonderful websites that are all ours that I want to tell you about. So you probably know psychedelicstoday.com. That's our one-stop shop for podcast backlog and all of our articles we've ever written and upcoming events that you might want to go to online and in person. We've also got a website, psychedeliceducationcenter.com, filled with different training and education courses. Some are very small and for free. Some are very bigger and more expensive. Go there, check out, see what you've got. We've added some new ones, got some live courses coming up shortly. And then we've also got vitalpsychedelictraining.com, which is our top level 12-month vital psychedelic training program. And the next one starts in September, but you can sign up to the waitlist now so you get early bird access. And if you want to send any feedback, you can email info@psychedelicstoday.com. All right, my lovelies, thank you very much for tuning into Psychedelics Today. Enjoy this episode. Greetings, everyone. This is David Drapkin, and I am at home in Zichron Yaakov in Israel in my spare room, and on my sofa is Itzhak Beery. What a pleasure drinking coffee with you. Shalom Aleichem, Neim Ma'od. It's a real pleasure to have you here, Itzhak.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. So we've just been talking for a little while about some of your work, some of your life experiences. There's loads to talk about. I've got a question in particular about transformation and evolution and kind of soul retrieval. And I know that's a lot of the work you do for people over the many, many years. But could we start by talking about your soul retrieval and where that started? Way back in the 90s, where was your soul when you found it, and where was your body, and how did that process kind of evolve?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to share whatever I experienced with you and your audience. I think that my journey or my transformation was not planned. It was truly happened all by accident, which is, of course, there is no accidents. But, when you go through that, you think that it's just a coincidence, it's just like one thing happened and then whatever. But for me, it was just, I had an advertising agency in Manhattan, in New York City. We were a small boutique advertising. We used to be known as the bad guys, the big boys of advertising. We did a very creative and very in-your-face advertising. But for me, that was the creative outlet. That's what I wanted to do. But it became more and more tedious and more about the business instead, not so much about the creative work. I worked with, people that are quite known, like Gucci and Revlon and Ferragamo and El Al and other things like that. And I got very disillusioned around my midlife crisis. And I really felt like I'm getting depressed and angry, and I didn't know what the purpose of my life is. Winning awards was not, which was always something very important for me. The creative awards, we won most of it, but it's just that didn't do it for me anymore. I wanted something that is deeper, more meaningful. And a friend of mine invited me to Hawaii, to the Big Island. Is a beautiful place, Kalani Honua there, and we had a week-long men's workshops. And I went there, and I was like teaching some like business consulting. That was one way that I paid part of it, but I did not expected. We had a sweat lodge there, and it was quite remarkable experience, the sweat lodge itself. But the next morning, I went there like really early in the morning and sat there when the lodge was emptied. And I was just meditating on sitting on the ground where 20 more people, men, were sitting there before. And I was like started to channel, which is something that I'd never done before. And I felt like something did change. I had a moment of awakening that connected me to the core of the earth, the core of the sky, the core of my body, and it really changed my life in many ways. That moment of a transformation or awakening also inspired me to write and collect the stories of other shamans who had moments like that. That's my second book, which is a tremendous, beautiful stories of people who are on the path and how that happened to them. So it happens in many different ways, but for me, it happened on a big island, being connected to the core of, or becoming part of, being one with. And that truly changed my life, So for that, I was very grateful. But on that trip, I was reading a book by Hank Wasselman, Spirit Walker, and it also changed my life. I read his account or experiences that he had about a person from the future, and it answered a lot of my questions that I was like debating with myself. And in that book, at the end of the book, he was writing about a workshop he took with Michael Harner, which is the person that started the neo-shamanism or core shamanism. And so when I came back to New York from Hawaii, the universe offered me a workshop with Michael Harner in New York. I took that. I was totally floored by the ability to see into space or into the unseen world and bring information to the people that I worked with in that workshop. And they were all true, all meaningful. It was the first time that I really felt that I have a gift, or I have something that can help people in really a more measured way. In advertising, we always worked on the fear, on the desires, on the issue that motivate people to buy product or to connect to product. But here it was really more about the soul or the, and it really intrigued me to no end. If you talk about the soul retrieval, I think that experience in Hawaii in that morning was returning my soul back. Never thought about it like that, but I think that this was like the major transformative moment. It was totally unexpected. It was not something that I planned but it's quite remarkable, really. After that, I was really felt change from within, you know. I took a few more workshops like that. I went back the next year. I went 6 years to Hawaii uh, for that weekend because it was such a transformative experience. And then I took a workshop with in New York with John Perkins, who is very instrumental to my work today. He wrote a couple of amazing books, which everybody have to read. The first one is "The World as We Dream It." That is the teaching of the Shuar or shamans. And I went with him to Ecuador on March 1997. And I did my first ayahuasca on a tem in Shuar, which was amazing experience. At that time, people didn't know what the tea was, and nobody had that word ayahuasca or shamanism in the public discourse at all. And then I met my teacher, Jose Joaquin Pineda, in the Andes. And during these Olympia ceremonies, I had full-blown visions that opened my, what we call the third eye, and I started to see. But to see more, not that I never did not see before, like visions, but it was more of a way of channeling, and also a way more of purpose of working with people. You know, how do you see the energy field around people, and to see spirit and receive messages for them for healing. And that was just another moment of transformative, because it's something I never imagined that I have in myself. And then I went again a year later, and I had another transformative or unbelievable or unexpected message. And that message was more of an initiation of shape-shifting. And in the Amazon, with the Shuar, during the Natem or ayahuasca ceremony, I had a spirit appear to me, and they asked me to make a commitment. And the commitment, or the vision for my life, was about preserving the Amazon and the people who live there as a way to save our society, the keeper of that knowledge that is so essential in our modern society. And that's really what I'm doing since then, from 1998. You know, it's a big word to say dedicated my life, but that's what I'm doing. I'm teaching people and bringing people to the Amazon, to see, to the Andes, to teach them, to reconnect them with nature and the awe or the magic of life. Because I truly believe that without the experience of seeing the other side, the unseen world, which is it's not unseen. You can see the unseen. It's just a different way of seeing. Without that, emotionally and spiritually, people would not have this appreciations to Mother Earth and to preserving the Earth. And with that, it's the survival of humankind.
Thank you for going into so much detail with the how and the why of that transformation. Before moving forwards, I do want to go back even further. So you grew up on a kibbutz, I understand.
Yes.
So I have a very beautiful place in my heart for kibbutzim. I spent a couple of really powerful moments in my life there when I was 16 and 19. One after a breakup, I just kind of fled England and went to Israel for 6 weeks and did some healing, like on banana fields and mango plantation. So kibbutzim are beautiful places. They're very special. So, and then you got into art. I understand you're an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously advertising and Manhattan. So at what point did you become a shaman, or that part of you that is a shaman? Where was it? What was it doing in those days in the kibbutz? And maybe did the kibbutz give that part of you any opportunities for nurturing those gifts that you have? Or was it more like just all of a sudden kind of explosion of those gifts? Like,
My teacher, my Brazilian teacher, Ipupiara, used to say that we are all shamans, that every human being is built, the DNA is built in to be able to see, to vision, to dream, to dance, to sing, to hug, to give somebody to drink, to hug, to make people feel comfortable, and so the quality of the ability to do the shamanic work is built in with every one of us, to take care of other people for the well-being of the community, which is what the shaman's name is. In Tungus, in the tradition, it's called the keeper of the fire, the person who's keeping the tradition, the ember of society alive, doesn't let this die. So we are the keeper of the song, the dances, the culture, the language. This is the work of the shaman, the spiritual and mental and the physical existence of the society. That's it. So we have that in us. I think that what happened in kibbutz, the people, my parents came from Poland and Belarus. They were anti-religion. They were rebellion against their parents. And my grandparents were very religious. My grandfather was a Kabbalistic rabbi and a healer. My grandmother, she came from a rabbinical family, so that that part of me was in my DNA. I did not know about it until recently because nobody talked about it.
wow.
My father was very much against any kind of religion. We were communist. We were socialist. We were about living equally, fairly with everyone, with Arabs, with Jews, with every person. That was like the Zionist idea, working the land. And so the new religious was really about working the land, being with nature. And we grew up in the 50s, and the 50s, there was not much development in Israel, as you may remember or read about. We walked the mountains, so the Gilboa Mountain, by ourselves on the weekends. No adult supervision. We went to the rivers, climb the mountains. We played with all the animals like scorpions and snakes and the coyotes. Everybody was there. Everything was there. It was raw. It was really being in nature. And I think that intimate relationship that we had with nature, and the idea that we were celebrating the Jewish holidays as more as agriculture, as part of the seasons, the harvest, So it's all, or Hanukkah, which was like really about the light, candles, fire. We didn't really use the religious explanation of that. We really use it more the earthy, the true, what we call Knaanim culture, the Hebrew roots of the culture, which is, I personally think that it's time for all of us to accept that, to be more with the cycle of nature instead of just, praying for unseen God. God is in the trees, in the land. So that's what we had. I think that was like, growing on the slope of Mount Gilboa and being with all the all nature around us and the plants we knew every plant by name, every animal. So that came back to me when I was starting to go back into what we call shamanism. It was in me anyway, but now I really have more access to it than when I was like trying to be the best advertising man win the most award in
Yeah.
in Manhattan,
Yeah, and you were saying that when you were in Manhattan and you went to Hawaii, you needed something more. There was something more to your life, and
Yeah.
success wasn't enough. That wasn't it, and there was something more. And yeah, nature is a beautiful teacher because I think it gives us a sense of freedom
Yeah.
to relinquish parts of ourselves that are no longer needed or that are no longer true. In something as universal that is ancient, and just to move from the land of Israel to the land of the Amazon and the Andes.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that you're very fortunate to have, Itzhak, around being part of a lineage in Latin America, of being initiated into some lineages.
Yes, and I think that I am incredibly aware of that. Like when I read all Carlos Castaneda's books, and I was kind of like not jealous, but I was like so taken by the idea that he found a teacher. And for me, I never really thought it's going to happen for me because I'm just a regular Joe, like I never thought that anything of me that I'm anything special. And so when I went to Ecuador and I had all these experiences and it happened to me also in Brazil. And when the shamans chose me, I was like really surprised. I was taken aback with it, but I also was really afraid because I was feeling like if I'll do that, then it's a lot of responsibility for other people's life. But who am I? What do I think of myself? How can I go to my children and tell them? It didn't go very well the first time I went. And there was a lot of resistance in my family. My 3 kids were like upset, and my wife was upset because we didn't have the time, money, all the excuses that why you would not do things like that. And then my daughter was really upset. She said that why do you choose to be a drug addict? Why can't you be just like a normal father? I didn't know what to tell her, but because I just could not. I needed to do it. I really felt like I needed to do it, but I didn't know why.
It was hard to explain it, kind of rationally.
I could not explain it.
Yeah.
I could not explain it because, see, I know now from 20-something years later, I can see the chain that led me there. But at that time, I was like, what the hell I'm doing? I was truly nuts. But I could not explain to people. I just like felt like I needed to do that. I needed to do this work. And lucky for me, I'm doing okay with that,
Yeah, I mean, you said this is your destiny of life. I think this is something that you're kind of known for before it was famous, before everyone, in a sense, was making money off it, and social media was going crazy with everyone being a shaman. And there's maybe a fine point around everyone having shamanic potential, or everyone, in a sense, having that soul, because everyone does. Every human being, all of nature, everything in the universe is kind of tapped into that, is networked into that spiritual piece. But how to know who's a good shaman or a real shaman or a safe shaman? That's a big question that people are asking nowadays, because a lot of people are having a powerful experience and putting it on their social media. This is who they are and this is what they're doing, and they're making, livings out of it. So how do we know? Like, what's a good test? What's a good kind of, I think, initiation process for someone to have gone through, to have known, okay, I have to do this. I'm ready for this. I have no choice now.
So I think that the first thing is that we all have what it takes to do healing work, shamanic work. We are built to do that. But that doesn't mean that you ought to do that. It may not be your life purpose to do that. The fact that you have two eyes or two hands doesn't mean that you are a great artist. Everybody can do art, but some people really take it to express themselves in that way because this is what they came here to do. In the same way that shamans, some people are, everybody can make tea, and everybody can make or pray or a dream, but that doesn't mean that they have to devote their life for that purpose. Some people feel that calling, that yearning, that the soul wants to do that, and that is what the purpose is. And I think that it's for choosing a shamanic practitioners, which is what I looked at myself. I'm not. I mean, I was initiated into 3 different traditions, but I'm not still calling myself like that because I do the work. I'm not saying that I'm a shaman. It's a little too bombastic, too much responsibility. So I think that it's important for people to ask the person who declare that he's doing shamanic work, what is the lineage that he's working from? Who is the teacher? How many years they do this work? And then maybe talk to them, feel if they do that because they are really interested in you, or they're interested in exploring their power, or of other reasons. The power could come from sexual, from money-wise, and all the other stuff. So it is important to really understand that. It's really so delicate because sometimes one respected shaman could not be good for everyone. Sometimes it's really more about personality and chemistry between people. Yeah, but I think that it's important for us to also for the shamans to put time into the practice, and that is something that in our culture everybody wants to do shortcuts. So in traditions, kids at 8 years old, they start to do training. And then maybe at the age of 14, 15, they start to do limpia, or they start to do more of the ceremonies in the yahe or ayahuasca. So they have all these years of training. And the years of training are very important because they're learning the language of spirit. Most people who come from the West and they fall into ceremonies, they don't take time to learn. They think that they know because they can actually cook or they can actually serve, but that doesn't really make them a good ayahuasqueros. That just make them a good bartenders. But it's not really knowing how to work with spirit during a ceremony, or even how to hold space to cook the medicine, or what goes into the medicine, or how to create the different variety for different night at all of it. It's so complex. So people who are learning how to do that, and we have a kid in the Psychopai in Ecuador, in the jungle there, who was 8 years old when I first met him. He was like starting to learn that, or sit in ceremonies. So they learn about the white ayahuasca, the yellow ayahuasca, the red ayahuasca, the black ayahuasca, the orange ayahuasca. They are all different type of ayahuasca. There's not just one ayahuasca. And they learn about different plants that you add, the leaves, the chacarona is not just the only one. You can use chacarona, but you can use also bayusa, and you can use other plants to enhance or to achieve what you want to do. And so, or how you cook, and what do you sing to the tea? What do you bring? Do you let other people walk in when you cook? Do you change the energy? Who are the people around you when you cook? So for most people who come from our world, they just know that they can cook it, and that's it. But what? What are you cooking? What is the intention that you put into it? What is the story that you bring with you to that ceremony? Personally, I think that if you're drinking ayahuasca and you're paying so much for that, you have the rights to ask. You have the right to ask the shaman or the person that call himself shaman, who is their teachers? How many years they do it? Do they know the song? Do you know why they do that? Or they just learn some Spanish songs with guitar and just like doing, like imitating, It's very hard to choose, but I think there is also, you have to investigate, you have to trust the person that you're going with. You most likely don't want to go by yourself with somebody you just met in Costco and somebody told you about that. It's just like, Also, that many people who have done that or taken ayahuasca with people who are not suffer from paranoia, from different ailment after that, and which is something that we don't really talk a lot about, but it's dangerous. It's not something easy to do. But I think it's also important to understand that ayahuasca, or that plant, traditionally was not done for regular people. It was consumed by the shamans only. And the shaman consume it in order to journey into the person's body and soul and spirit to see what happened to it. But only when the shaman discovered the root cause of that, then we give it to the client to clean their digestive system. But traditionally, it was not done for any person, white people who came from Europe or America for the excitement of finding their new vision. It was done for healing. It truly done for removal of acidity from the digestive system, to remove the pH, to balance the pH in the stomach. That's what it was, to heal ailment. They believe that, of course, that spiritual and emotional imbalance is congregate in our stomach and create all those diseases. So it's about removal of virus, bacteria, and parasites from your stomach to change but it was not really for regular people to have visions.
Mm-hmm. What about for things like mental health conditions, trauma, anxiety, depression,
It is
addiction?
All in the stomach.
Yeah.
Every trauma, every mental issue is that shock, or what we call stresses, the rapid fear that people experience, changes the culture in your stomach. The acidity in the stomach create all the diseases. And so by drinking plant medicine, or whatever you call it, you are purging it. And the more you purge, the more you throw you clean your stomach, your system. There's a beautiful book. It's called Black Smoke by a friend of mine. She had a breast cancer and she went through work with the Natem or the ayahuasca with the Shwa shaman, she wrote beautifully about it, how that the cleaning of the inside changes the physicality of her body, and she saw it as a black smoke coming out of her breast and evaporating, and it healed herself. So it's really about that. The main problem that I see is that people from the West come to ayahuasca as like a magic drink, but they don't speak the language of spirit. They don't speak the language of plants or of the Amazon. Now, when you start drinking it from the age of 6, you are 8, you are already understanding the intricate visions and that is connected to your body, and it's connected to the whole world of spirit. And so they have a context where they can hold what your body physically experience and what they visually experience. When we come from digital world, zero connection to nature, and we just dumped ourselves into a world that is steep in magic, we don't know how to accept it. We don't speak that language. It's like if you go to Italy and you speak only English or Hebrew, you may get a little bit somewhere, but you're going to miss the whole thing. And you'll think that people are speaking about you in a different way. It's the same thing when you go. So I think that if anybody wants to do this kind of work, they really have to learn to work with power animal, with spirit guides, to understand that every waka or every item, sacred item in the world have spirit and energies and frequencies that is full of knowledge and teachings. You can't just like bring yourself into a place you don't know the language, you don't understand what the birds and the cicadas and the waters are talking to you, and expect to recover your soul. Actually, many people leave their soul there.
Wow.
Because they can't handle it. So I personally think that a lot of it is you need to learn to speak the language of shamanism, the language of spirit, the language of nature. And until you do that, going into all these plant medicine, ayahuasca, natem, yahe, whatever you want to call it, it's a waste, but it's a waste.
Yeah.
It's just like missing the whole experience of what plant medicine is. And also, so many different traditions doing ayahuasca or plant medicine differently. There are some people who are using mariachis, guitars and singing, and some people sing Spanish songs. Some people speak or not speak at all, or not sing at all. Some people do it with guitars. Some people with marimba. Some people cook it. Some people not cook it. There's so many different ways that plant medicine is used that it's important for people to experience that and to honor that, and not expect to have what is called it's like ayahuasca light, like Coca-Cola, like it's the same Coca-Cola everywhere in the world. It's not. It is so important to know who cook it, who prepare it, who serve it, if there were people around it or not. So much.
Yeah, I love the grandeur of this work and how we approach it, with respect. It is sacred work. And there's something beautiful as well that I'm hearing you talking around the preparation that we have. And often, like in the world of psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, which is what a lot of the money's going into, and MDMA and psilocybin and clinics and ketamine. It's therapy, and you do preparation, you do integration. And so often they're talking about like maybe a month of therapy beforehand and a month or two of therapy afterwards. And that's, in a sense, the time that you learn the language of the spirit, the language of nature. But sometimes you're in downtown Manhattan, So it's beautiful thinking about, wow, actually indigenous traditions take maybe 10, 20, 30 years, your whole life, to learn it and to cultivate it, to deepen it, to really get it into your soul, to be fluent in this language. Because when you ultimately have psychedelic experiences, it really can kind of rip you open. And it can be very hard. Like you said, some people leave their soul in the Maloka, like in the Amazon, because it was just so much. And, I know what that's like a little bit. And I've seen other people and heard stories about it from other people. It's, when we're not taught the language of our own spirit, where we're walking a path which is very much material and capitalist, that's our reality, that's our identity, that's our kind of infrastructure and scaffolding of everything that seems normal and real. And at the same time, that's a facet, an element of reality. And plant medicines often will give us the rest. And I love how you're talking about just, spirits and animals and being around us at all the time. And we're potentially constantly seeing or receiving messages. And just as you were talking about nature, the birds started to sing. I don't know if you heard them, Itzhak, through the window. Beautiful bird song here in Israel. The sun's setting, the rainstorm has stopped raining. The birds are there, they're talking to us. And yeah, like that's part of us. We should let that in. So how do we learn this? And how do you as a teacher want to dedicate your life, and you have done, like, how is it that you can teach, in a sense, this openness, these abilities to be in touch with spirit and with nature, and to do this kind of soul retrieval and healing work? I think you've called it like the river of light as well, and the third eye. So how is it, like, what are some of the teaching techniques or the ways that you would welcome a student to begin that process of learning for many years?
The difference between shamanic healing or shamanic teachings and other modalities is that in the way we work, we talk about intimate experience with nature. We cannot really talk about that in a abstract way, academic way. It is all about experience, self-experience. And I think that that's one of the things that is so beautiful about shamanism, is that in shamanism, your experience is your experience. I cannot argue with your experience. If you go there and you hug a tree and the tree tells you to do something or to experience something or to feel something, I can't tell you that you are wrong. This is your experience. You are the shamans. You are the person that received that message, and you have to act on it. It's contrary to our teachings in schools that there is a truth, and this is just that truth, and it's in the book. You just read about it, and you got to follow the book. Your experience is because you're crazy. No, in shamanism, we respect every person's personal experience as a way spirit communicate with them. In the same way that spirit communicate in dreams, in the same way that they communicate in psychedelic visions, in the same way that you are daydreaming or your body feels or experience something. I can't tell you that you did something wrong. This is your experience. It is a democratic, respectful way of being in the world. And that, I think, that is so important. So the way I'm trying to do it is by talk less and show more, or give the people the experience of being in the jungle. Because I can't really tell you. I mean, I can talk about my experience sitting on a bench by the river and watching the sunrise, the sunset, and the spiritual uplifting that it does for me and what it does to me. it's nice. I can say it to people, but when they sit with me on that bench, I don't have to say a word. They know it. When they are walking in that forest, they understand. They feel that energy that comes there, that aliveness, this alertness, that wildness in nature, and they start to be part of that. And the longer you're there, you get more because you're less afraid of it. And the same thing with nature. So every time that you bring people closer to nature, people instinctively they are learning that language again. It's not foreign. It's just we're disconnected it for so many years, for thousands of years. We have to relearn it or give ourselves permission to be part of nature again. So the language of nature is of spirit is the language of nature. Is the language of our ability to observe the river, observe the trees, the falling of the trees. What is a tree? What is a river? What is water? What is the clouds? What is the flowers? What is the rain? What is the lightning? All of that is to be part of that and to learn to see nature as a way, as a symbolic, the physicality, the science part of it, but also the symbolic part of it. And so that's what I teach now. I teach really more about that everything in the shamanic healing practice have a symbolic, spiritual meaning, but they also have a very particular scientific reason for use. Because shamanism is about survival. It's about the ability for people to continue to live on this earth in a sustainable, balanced way. And if what I do, or if your visions don't contribute to that, then it's a waste. It's for nothing. It's for entertainment. What do you do? And that's really my question for people who are doing psychedelic.
Yeah. In a sense, as a part of that, this question about is it just for you, or is there a service or a giving to others? Is there a higher reason and purpose that it helps people? And I wanted to also ask that as a question related to this, Itzhak, around just the intensity of our experiences, of how we can channel that intensity without going crazy. Like I was telling you before, I had a big Buddhist phase of my life in my 20s. And it was great, but I wanted it too desperately to be a wise, spiritual Buddhist monk bodhisattva. And so it started to drive me crazy, and everything had meaning. Like, how do I do this? And how do I say that? And am I meditating enough? And I need to learn more teachings. And with shamanism as well, I wonder, is there this, or could there be an intensity of teaching someone or going through that process of opening up to this awareness, this other side of the realm of spiritual existence that is just too intense, and it can actually make us just not be able to come back into the real world, and we're constantly spirits and nature and thinking about energy, and how, like, but personally speaking, how do you moderate just being a human being and going to the toilet and making breakfast and doing all the things that you do and staying attuned to the spiritual world and energy and other people's souls? How do you kind of walk that path, and how do we teach someone to do that without kind of going crazy, to be honest?
Kabbalah, right?
A little bit, yeah, I love it. Yeah.
My great-grandfather was a Kabbalistic rabbi and healer in Poland. So I don't know much about Kabbalah because I'm always resisting that. But there was something really beautiful about the teaching in Kabbalah, that when you get to the age of 40, you enter into the Pardes, which is into the mystery. Pardes is, of course, the grove of the trees of knowledge.
An orchard, yeah.
the orchard, but it also, the orchard have a lot of shadows. The sun, yeah, the sun god is lighting up the top of the trees or the whole forest, but it's not inside it. There is a lot of darkness. But I think that is that idea of you are entering into knowledge or into that at the age of 40. It's the age where you already have life experiences, that you know death, you know loss, you know love, you know heartbroken love, you know all the you're raising children, you already have experienced different stages of life, and then you go into the pardes, into midlife crisis, asking the big questions of life. I personally recommend young people, and maybe it's not very popular, to avoid going into the pardes too soon. A lot of people who are going and taking plant medicine are too young. They don't have life experience strong enough or wise enough to be able to experience what they experience when their consciousness is not, or the consciousness is not guarding them, or the gatekeeper is not protecting them. And that's where they get into paranoia. They're not built physically, anatomically yet to experience that. And so when people come to me like 19, 20, 21, that's the age where you really want to be spiritual. You see all these gurus, it's really a lot about avoiding life, avoiding the experiences of life. And I personally think that people from the age of 16 to the age of 34 or so, that's what they have to do. They have to experience life. Intimacy. How do you share love? How do you open your heart with another person and sexually active? That is what our hormones and our body really want. You don't want at that age to go into the pardes, into the darkness, into the knowledge. Let that be another stage of your life. Personally, I think that it will be really good if people are. It's different, of course, if you are indigenous and you grew up from the age of 8 and you're step by step going into that, and they are more balanced. But for us, when people are going, when they are 20 something, they go into it breaks them up. They didn't yet experience life, or what we call life, which is all the thing that I said, love and death and separation and heartbreak and having children, raising family, taking responsibility, all of those things that life is giving. Because at the end, when you are a counselor, when you're a shaman, what do? You're drawing from those experiences. And that is what makes you so good at what you do. You're drawing from your own personal experience. It's not from the books. And so I think I really like young people to reconsider taking psychedelic, because they don't have yet the maturity enough to hold it. And for that, they go crazy, some of them. I had 2 clients who changed their sex because ayahuasca told them, 1 man, 1 woman. I had one guy who went paranoid, and he divorced his wife, left the state where they were. They changed jobs. People are leaving their partners, leaving their jobs, leaving their They're like making changes because they don't know how to handle the information and integrate it into their life. So they acting out. It's not that anything changed. They will continue to do the same crap that they do before, but they feel like they did something. They don't have the ability yet to integrate it.
Yeah, and some of those decisions that people make, sex change, divorce, changing jobs, could be good decisions, could be the right decisions. But what happens around, I think, the process before, and I think the community, the support structures that are around them when they make those decisions, and just in a sense, the support that they've got. And I think a lot of people that I've seen fly to the Amazon and then fly back, like literally, they go for a week, maybe 2 weeks if they can afford time off work. They come back and they go straight to work. And or even just coming going again, getting ketamine. They go to work the next day. They've got their kids to put to bed at night. They do it on a weekend and they got, Monday back to work. It's that time and that process of waiting and of slowly building and having other people to kind of go through the process with, either a teacher or friends, community, and for it to be something that they can share. Because a lot of the time it's something that they do secretly. And so they don't have anyone to talk to apart from maybe a therapist, maybe. And so, yeah, I think there's such a need for people, in a sense, to slow down, but also just to connect with people so they're not alone in these journeys, to make sure they've got the support and they can just, in a sense, it's accountability, but it's also really like someone holding that rope or that string of the kite. So it's not kind of letting go and flying through the stratosphere. Okay, David's holding on to that kite. Okay, well, that rope, that anchor, I can meet with them tomorrow and, really go through the process without, just losing my sense of self and identity. It's just that slowness. I think that nature teaches us, like, how long does it take for a tree to grow or for a river to kind of carve its way through a canyon? Centuries, millennia, millions of years.
For people who are coming to on my trips, I tell them not to make any decision until 3 months after the trip is over. They need to take the time. I mean, they can divorce, they can break up with their relationship, they can go and find another job, but give it 3 months. That this idea of I'm going to come back and I'm going to start a whole new life, you don't really start a whole new life. You just will do it with the different people because you didn't learn the lessons. So you're creating a lot of suffering for a lot of other people around you. Just because you took ayahuasca, it doesn't mean that you are now an enlightened being, It just means that you are unbalanced. And so I ask people not to make decision for at least 3 months. And then we have this group of people that on WhatsApp and Zoom that we are because we are from different countries and different continents. We are trying to contain that and have conversations about what we are going through, emotional and physical. So it's like a support group for after the trip, because it's so essential to bring the teaching that you're receiving, not just like flaunting, but to really bring it in and work through them more deeper.
And that takes some of the attention away from the psychedelic or the medicine itself, and that little bit of time where they're experiencing that level of consciousness. It puts the emphasis on life.
Yeah.
Life before, life afterwards. And how often do we need psychedelics or to drink ayahuasca? How frequently?
That's the thing about psychedelics, that some people are using it for running away from their problems or not facing them. Because, some people I know did at least 80 to 100 to 150 ayahuasca ceremonies. And my questions to them always was, what did you experience when you did the 85 journey? Can you tell me? What was the commitment that you made to spirit? What is it that you learn in that experience? Or at 37? Or at, when? or you just do it because you are lonely and you like the community around you and you like the ceremony and you have the $200 or $250 to spare. What is it about? What spirit told you or showed you in that psychedelic journey that you want to implement into your life to actually honor spirit, which is, I think that is the most important thing, because we think that psychedelic visions is just psychedelic visions. But this is the way spirit communicate with us. And so if we don't learn, if we don't honor them and learn and actually execute what they given you, why are you doing it? Why would they have to come back to you? Do you know many people that tell me that when they did ayahuasca come and tell them, don't do this anymore. They tell them, stop.
Yeah.
Because they don't honor them. And it's the same way that ayahuasca talks to the shamans in the Amazon. They tell them that they abused the ayahuasca. That's what happened in Brazil for us.
Mm.
The Brazilian shamans came to us and told us that ayahuasca spirit was very angry at them because they're exploiting it, because they don't plant new shoots, because they over harvesting, and because they charging money, and it's greed, and they don't share it with the community. So there was a big crisis there too. Spirit is, I don't know if people understand what spirit is. That's the thing. That energy is there, and it comes to you in your psychedelic journeys, right? It's not just a vision. It's messages from spirit. It's come to teach you something, and it comes there for you to follow it and show them that it is important for them. Otherwise, why you do that? What's the purpose of it? Okay, so you understand the relationship with your mother and your father, but okay, and what do you do? What are you committed to? Are you committing to teach other people? Are you going to open up another school or teaching people about that? What do you do? How do you experience the teaching that spirit trusts you in giving you that information? That is the biggest question. Do you know how many people did ayahuasca and did nothing with it?
Mm.
It's a waste. It's a waste of spirit energy. Really is.
It's quite a strong statement to make, isn't it? But ultimately,
it's true, though.
What is the purpose of it? Yeah.
What's the purpose of it?
Yeah.
Because in shamanism, everything has a purpose. It's not for the birds.
Mm.
It has to serve something. Make the world a better place. Make you more courageous. Find your soul. Live your life more purposefulness and help other people. It's all about service to other people. So let's say that you did 100 ayahuasca ceremony, and so that doesn't make you enlightened. It makes you consumer addicted.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes the shaman richer in your pocket.
Mm.
But that doesn't make that shaman more spiritual or you. It just makes you more infantile, the way you just like consume spirit. But what do you do with it? What do you do with the visions? Do you teach it to other people? Do you show it to other people? What is the commitment that you have seeing this spirit? And I don't know. I mean, many people maybe are unable to answer that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've used the word commitment a lot talking about this commitment. And I think it's interesting just looking at our contemporary culture right now around commitment. Like everything is like postmodern and kind of relativistic and subjective and, kind of neo-shamanic. Everything is kind of fluid. Like, what do we commit to in life? Like, what do I commit to today in my relationships, with my job, with my language, with my energy? What are we committing to? And I think it can be quite scary because there's just so much to do in life. There's so much to fix. There's so much uncertainty and mystery. So I guess the commitment can be to embrace that mystery, to embrace that complexity, to acknowledge my shadow, and to commit to exploring that in a way. And I wanted to ask a question about your books you've written. So you've written a lot of books, and you're writing some books now. There was one book in particular that I want to just ask a question around. The book that you've written called Shamanic Transformations, True Stories of the Moment of Awakening. And I haven't read it, but from having spoken in my life to hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 people over the last, 4 or 5 years of being a part of the psychedelic circus, people talking about their transformation moments, their emotional breakthroughs, their spiritual awakenings. Everyone's different and they're all the same in a way. But it's a beautiful, sacred, very personal experience, moment of tenderness or shock and awe and fear, and it can be quite scary and overwhelming. So I haven't read the book, but I'm fascinated. What people were telling their stories of their awakening, and what were some of their experiences, and were there any kind of themes that evolved around how spirit appeared in their lives?
So read the book.
Okay.
I collected stories from well-known shamans who are working in the field, because I personally wanted to see or to hear, not as gossip, but I wanted to have the intimate relationship, intimate moment that people that I admired, that I work with, experience. That moment of eureka, oh my God, this is or the moment that your lenses changes from, blue to pink, or to, that moment of change. I had experienced it, like I told you that, and in Hawaii. Yeah. So there are different themes. For some people, it's the search, a life search for the moment of enlightenment. For some people, it just happened like that, but watching in the kitchen window and something happened. For some people, it just, they had experiences like mine, or like in shamanic work or things like that. But I have to tell you that, so that was my intention in the book, is to find out other people's moment of enlightenment, or what we call enlightenment. And but I think that one of the things that I personally liked about that book is this letter of a guy who is native, South American native, indigenous person, who wrote me an email. He said that, I'm really, really sorry, but I don't have one moment of enlightenment, because in our culture, every moment is the moment of enlightenment. And, it shook me a little bit, because in our culture, we go to the Himalayas, we go to the Amazon, we go to the mountains, we go to the who knows where, to the rivers, to wait for the moment that God will just hit us over the head and will be enlightened. And the truth is that every moment of our life is a moment of awe, of enlightenment. And we have to really sit with it for a minute. We are always looking from the enlightenment outside of ourselves, that somebody will give it to us. A guru in India. How many people are wasting their time? Sorry for that, for saying it. It's a judgment. But how many people are going there for that moment of enlightenment? How many people are going to all kind of places and around the world? But that moment that you are already looking for it, it's already happened. You just have to recognize it. You have to live life. And that was so beautiful, that story that he was writing there.
Yeah.
That every moment that we are alive is a moment of miracle. It's a moment of enlightenment. And we have to live like that, in that awe, in that place, that every moment is a moment of that you can transform your life. You don't have to wait to take ayahuasca, yahe, natem, all the other stuff to experience that transformation.
Beautiful. That's a really powerful teaching, because then maybe we don't need that 157th journey, because today, tomorrow, the next day, it all contains that awe, that sacredness, that God, that enlightenment, that just being present in the moment. But it can be hard to find in the craziness of life, but it's there.
Yeah, but you see, for instance, how do you drink your coffee, for instance? So you can drink the coffee just because I like coffee, or you can drink it as a commune with the tree of coffee that is grown in the Amazon, let's say, with the smell of these beautiful flowers, with the people that come to collect that, with the sun that make the fruits red, with the flowers and with the birds that are flying all over there. All of that, you drink that coffee. And as a healing medicine, because coffee is healing medicine. So if you drink just coffee or cappuccino, which is my favorite drink, I drink the grass of the cow. I drink the cow. I drink the mountains. I drink the meadows. I drink the coffee and the growers and the packager, the people who are making it happen. That is how you live life with more of the consciousness that is transformative. You don't live on automatic, gears. You put meaning, you put conscious to every moment. And I'm not saying that I do that, because a lot of the time I don't want to be conscious, a lot of us, but I'm conscious of that I'm not really wanted to be conscious.
Okay.
And I forgive myself for that.
Yeah.
But
beautiful.
Every moment is a moment of chance. Every moment is a moment that you can actually change your life. You don't have to wait for anyone to tell you. And that's why closing your eyes and communicating with your spirit guide or your spirit teachers can really help with that. Because you ask your spirit guide, or you want to call it like your higher consciousness or your higher spirit or your higher soul, and you act on it. In New York, you have one of the science schools, the high schools. It's called Stuyvesant High School. It's like the best math and science schools in the United States. And I was teaching there because all my 3 kids went there. So I was teaching the schools there. And one of the things that was truly a great gift for me from that is that one of the students there at the end of the, like in their graduation ceremony, he came to me and he says, "Mr. Beery, I have to tell you that what you were teaching us was the most practical teaching I got here at Stuyvesant. Working with spirit, with your power animal. He doesn't have to ask anybody permission. Just go there and ask your spirit." This is a guy who is a science major, math major. It's practical.
Beautiful. Thank you. We've been talking a long time, so we need to do it again. I've got a couple of questions I want to ask before you go. The books, you said you're working on 2 new books. Do they have titles yet? Do they have like a shape and a structure yet? Or,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What are they about?
So the first one is the language of spirit. that's what we talked about, is the ability. A lot of people who are doing shamanic work, they teach the work with spirit. And their students, and happens to me too, they claim they don't see anything. I saw a red flower, I saw a river, I saw mountains, and I see my grandmother, but I don't I don't understand what I see. Probably they're nothing. And so this book is an attempt to teach the practitioner, not so much the students, how to take all those parts and create a narrative. For instance, red flowers about beginning with passion, let's say. The red is color of passion, blood, love. Grandmother is about generations, and this is about this. And so you weave a narrative. And the narrative is really what is important for us. How do you take all these visions, like in the same way the psychedelic, sometimes you see all kind of different like images that doesn't make sense, that are like following each other, but they do. And if your mind learn to follow it, not just by saying, oh, I saw this and I saw this and I saw this and I saw this, but if you understand the meaning of that, then you can start creating like a necklace of visions. And that necklace is the narrative of people's life, or people's mission or visions. And so this book is about that. So it's about how you do that, but also about I'm trying to give like a dictionary of what it means, all the colors and all the geographical areas and different things that people see in their journey. So this is one, and this one is already been, my publisher already have that, but the other one is I'm working on it. It's the idea of people. Some people believe, or indigenous people believe, that your palm, the palm of your hands, is the mirror of your soul. That's what they call it. It's the mirror of your soul. And it is known that around 4 or 5 months before the baby is born, there is something interesting really happen in the brain. There's a new surge of energy that comes in the brain, and it starts to spread all around our body, creating our nervous system. But it's also making an imprint, so the shape, the form, the lines, and the fingerprints on your palm, on your hands, they don't change. So 4 months before you even took the first breath, your blueprint, your life blueprint, is already here. And I know it's controversial because some people think that, what do you mean? My life is already written. I can't change it. No, you can't. But you can work with learning your gifts, your challenges, and learn how to surrender to it, to accept it, and to excel in what you came here to do. And so I call it Palm Power, and I'm working on that book. I'm teaching it throughout the world, but I also want to make a book where people can buy it in airports, and the trip from Israel to New York, they can just really learn about their archetypes, about if they are water, air, earth, or fire. What it means, that the size, the shape of the fingers, and so it's all of it is there. It's like totally like a science. It's more like it's not a spiritual thing, although it is. There's no difference between, but it's a fascinating thing. And I have I'm teaching it for quite a while now, and I have a few people here and in the United States and in Italy and Germany, and they're all reading the hands now, and it's fascinating.
It's far out. That's it's an ancient tradition. Where did you pick that up? And is there a tradition that you were taught it through?
A friend of mine recommended me a guy who now lives in San Francisco, Richard Unger, who read palms. But at that time, I was not really ready. I was seeing too much, and I didn't know how to contain my visions. I didn't know how to hold space. So I was seeing like sexual abuse or other things like that. And I just like got really sucked into that. And I just like left it. I could not do that. So I left it for a few years. And then I went to the Andes. In the Andes, they do read hands. And also in Brazil. So I saw it there. And then when I started to do more work, I started to use that. What I know from the Andes and from the Brazil and from Richard. He used to come also to teach in New York, and I helped him out, and we were teaching together about life purpose. And I started to use that. I've probably read already more than 20,000 hands.
Wow.
Yeah, throughout the years. And I have like a great library of people who are I've done healing for. And it is fascinating. And the fascination really for me is that idea of that energy that starts in the head. You can also say that this is your soul reincarnated. And because one of the experiences that I had in the Andes was a reincarnation, which I found the proofs in Vienna, that lifetime, but really proof.
Yeah.
I started to believe in it because I was very cynical about that. I was like, poo-poo all of that. But that lifetime was really there. And so the idea that we choose the body, we choose the gender, we choose the mother and the father and all the siblings and all the people that will give us all the traumas, all for fulfilling our life purpose. And knowing your life purpose tells you all about your traumas. So the traumas that you experience in your life are really here to put you or to push you toward fulfilling your life purpose. It's a little difficult for people to accept.
Yeah.
But if you see that in your hand, and if you accept that, then you're no longer a victim of your mother, you're no longer a victim of your father, you're not a victim of your abuser, of a religion or anything. It is your choice, and you can change it. And you take responsibility. You're no longer a victim. The most important thing in all healing, giving you back your power. And that way, if they and I show people their hands, the lines, and it's just like you can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't.
Yeah.
If you are a healer and you have the healing line, this is it. You're going to be a healer. You're going to be a sucker for other people's emotions.
Yeah. Fascinating. And I love that we can't change them. Like we can get plastic surgery and change our face. We can change our social media profile. We can change our jobs. And yeah. And I think it ties into what you're saying around commitment. And I think there are aspects of committing to seeing ourselves and the way that we are, and at the same time committing to transformation and taking whatever we inherit, this life, previous lives, and how to transform it into something that has purpose and meaning to ourselves and healing and to others. So
if we take it to psychedelics,
yeah,
each person accepts visions or experiences according to their life purpose. And so your visions, if you don't know their life purpose, they really almost not useful. But if you combine that with the way for you to get closer to your life purpose, to be aligned with your life purpose, then those visions can really accelerate that process. But if you, for instance, all your life you believe that you need to be a rich person, powerful person, and because that's what your mother, your father wants from you, but you are really a healer. If you don't accept that this is not what you came here to experience in this world. You came here to experience healing, compassion, empathy, helping other people. You're not here to amass property and houses and become rich. Then there is some quietness, that acceptance, and that makes you more whole and complete. So knowing it's really helps to what you see, also to bring it into your life purpose or your soul purpose.
Thank you, Itzhak. And one final question. And it's interesting just talking about life purpose. So you're a father and a grandfather. And I know that just this last Shabbat, your granddaughter had her bat mitzvah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when she's 12 years old and she has a rite of passage, an initiation, a ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
So on a personal level, on a spiritual level, how was it? What was it like being the granddad, and being part of the family? And yeah, what kind of ceremony was it? And what was your role there? And how is it being part of, that kind of family rite of passage and initiation back in your homeland?
So I'm really glad that I was able to see it and to be part of it. I did not really have a big role there. There's rabbis and there are people who are doing this work and this is their space. I'm not interfering with that, but I was very proud that she chose to do that. And I also had a very strong feeling that my children and their children are continuing the line or their life of the people that were mostly murdered in Poland and Belarus. And life continues. And everything that is streaming in their blood is continue to bloom and blossom and give new life. That was a very emotional and beautiful feeling that we are only one pearl in a whole necklace. And that necklace is as old and ancient and never going to be destroyed. I mean, we all think about ourselves as a unique person in this life, but we also serve a purpose for community. We are now only just one little pearl in a whole necklace, and I think that's very comforting in many ways to see them. We have 8 grandchildren.
Wow. Beautiful.
Some of them have the same lines of mind, or they I'm quite sure that they will continue to do some kind of work like that. I don't know in what capacity, that they don't have to be shamans. They can do other things that are helping other people. But I think that that's most likely what's going to happen. Yeah. It feels beautiful to be present in those stages of life and knowing that these are the new flowers, but they have really, really long roots. It makes me very emotional, and I was like trying to hold my tears.
Yeah.
Mostly because my father and my mother didn't have that much, and I felt this responsibility, or with my great grandfather, that I'm doing his work,
Mm. Beautiful. So your great grandfather was a pearl on a necklace a
Yeah,
few lines back, and it's continuing. That must be a beautiful feeling.
yeah, and I think that in many ways we sometimes we forget that we are to wear that necklace on our neck, on ourselves, that we are part of it. But I think that it's so important to remember that we come from that lines. But that's also part of growing up, like I would not expect that from my granddaughter to feel the same way, It's like when you grow older and you have more perspective and you start to see the rhythm of life, and many people are leaving the earth, people that you loved. You don't take it for granted. You really feel like you're on that line that goes up and up and up and up and up, and then you're going to be up there. This year I had the last 3 years I lost 8 of my teachers and friends. I mean, I'm not just saying people who left, but people who were my shamanic teachers, And so when they leave, where it leaves me, it's like I am out there.
And that's why you're writing books and teaching, and you're very busy.
Exactly. Because I really feel the time, and I really feel like I really need to leave something behind, because all those teachers were indigenous. They never really wrote a book, except one. But they were not writing books. They were not leaving their wisdom behind. I mean, they kind of left. I mean, I feel a responsibility to share it with other people, because otherwise it all will be gone. And every shaman that you meet, no matter what tradition, it's like an encyclopedia. It's like a tree in the forest. Like they have all that knowledge and all those life that is all around them, and when they gone, it's like poof, gone. It's like never existed. And we don't have too many of those elders to rely on, or to, my teachers, I used to call them every time that I had a problem or an issue or possession or attachment or evil spirit. I mean, they helped me out with all of that, because it's teaching that not too many people know how to all the processes. So it's disappearing, and we can't let that happen.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure to have you in my spare room at home, chatting on the sofa. Before you go, you've got a lot of websites and books, so you don't have to try and remember them all now and tell people about it. We'll put them all in the show notes when the podcast gets released. But are there any particular websites or books or events or organizations that you want to just mention to folks that want to find out more about you, your work, and some of the organizations you're part of?
Well, my website, itzhakbeery.com, that my personal, that I have a lot of materials, and not just about me, but it's materials about shamanism, and also all my activities. Where is my next?
That's where the website you go to find out where you're going next week.
Yeah. I go there because otherwise I would not remember. And then Shaman Portal. So Shaman Portal is the main tool that I created in 2005. It came out in 2007. It is the hub of the global shamanic community. We have news, we have articles, we have workshops, everything that is happening in the shamanic community. People are very welcome to come there. It's shamanportal.org. and participate and contribute articles and blogs and videos. And so it's a beautiful way of, we just redone that website, and it's a beautiful tool for all people who are doing shamanic work, psychedelic work, and any kind of thing with shamanism to visit there and to contribute, because it's, I created that because of that promise I made for spirit in the Amazon, but also because in the shamanic community until then, every shaman had his own website, his own community, and they never really shared. There was no one place where all shaman can share. A lot of it was because of territorial, because they didn't want to share their teachers or their mailing list or whatever. But I don't believe in competition. I don't really believe in territorial. You can like me, or I can like you, or other people. It's just like, the more we share, it's better for the community. And that's why I created this shamanportal.org. On Facebook, we have 127,000 people there.
Mm.
It's a dedicated for shamanism. It's not just a spiritual new age stuff. So it draws a lot of people there.
And that's Shaman Portal on Facebook?
Shaman Portal on Facebook. We have 127,000.
Nice. All right, I'm going to join.
Of course, it's really nice. And people are sharing their events, thoughts, everything there. It's beautiful. So it's both ways. The idea here is really to give a stage for people to share their work and their activities. It's not just me, But I believe that the more we share, the more the world is benefited from it. And we don't have much time, We really have to do it now.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it feels that way. Yeah. Especially, I think, being in Israel now, there's a lot happening, and just looking at the way the world is, like, what are we waiting for? And are we going to compete with each other? And who's going to get the most subscribers and email list? The time is now, and I think, having different leaders bringing wisdom together, I can see why, it brings challenges and complications.
Yeah,
definitely. But let's try and navigate those rather than saying, oh no, you were talking about pardes and, the light in the orchard on top of the trees, and down underneath the branches and the leaves, there's shadow there, more down in the roots and the earth. And but we got to go in the shadow there. And I think it's time to get kind of our hands dirty rather than saying, oh, it's too complicated, or, we have to get into the complicated conversations around the world. So, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you for listening to that long and beautiful episode with Itzhak. It was an absolute pleasure to chat with him. One of the things that most stands out was that kind of idea that we are all shamans, all have the potential to be a shaman or to experience life in a shamanic way. What does that mean? It's a very loaded term, shamanism right now. So it's open to kind of different interpretations. One interpretation I think that resonates for me is being tuned in to truth, however it shows up, whether we like it or not, and having some kind of an accountability to honor that truth and to help others in honoring their truth that normally revolves around healing and supporting others in their journey, and really being connected to, nature and to something bigger than ourselves. So kind of surrendering into that process. So blessings to all of us on this beautiful journey of life. It is crazy and complicated, and yes, beautiful. So lots of love, and see you soon. God bless.